Once, long, long ago, there was this land called England. And in the land of England, there was a king. Now, this king was a good king, and he protected his people from all kinds of threats. And he only had one son named Arthur. But one day there was a conflict which he wasn't sure he would be able to defeat. So he took his closest confidant, a general, and said, "Hey, can you protect my son Arthur and raise him as your own?" And the general, of course, was like, "Sure, I will." And he took Arthur. Now, Arthur was a baby, so he didn't remember anything and wouldn't know that the king was actually his dad. So keep that in mind. But of course, the king ended up winning the conflict after a while. And years later, he was now an old man. And he was afraid that he would die pretty soon. But he wanted Arthur to be able to take his place as ruler. So then he asked Merlin if he had any ideas, because he himself didn't have any ideas. And Merlin said, "Yeah, I do actually have an idea. Let's take this little sword called Excalibur, very special sword. We'll place it in this magical enchanted stone so that only Arthur could pull it." Which, sounds like a great idea, right? But it can't be that easy. So, to make it seem even more legit, they decided to make it look like a tournament for all the best warriors from across the land to come to see if they could pull the sword out of the stone and become the new ruler of England, which is a better idea. Except Arthur could only still pull the sword. So then, of course, the day came. Excalibur was in the stone, and they all came to try to pull it out of the stone to become the new ruler of England. But the general left his son and Arthur at home, which kind of defeats the whole purpose of the tournament, but I'm sure it's no big deal. So, of course, he and all the warriors tried to pull the sword out of the stone, but couldn't, because they're not supposed to. And then, of course, the tournament ended, and there was another event that same day, so they all decided to go to that. And of course, now Arthur and the general's son attended, and the son would actually be participating in this event. But of course, he forgot his sword at home, which is pretty forgetful. But Arthur was a good guy and decided that he would go find the son a new sword. And so he searched around town, or the village, as it was called those days, to look for a sword when he came across Excalibur. Now, he didn't know Excalibur, like what it was, because he wasn't at the tournament, so he just thought it was a normal sword, took it out of the stone easily, and brought it to the son. But of course, the general recognized it and was admittedly and, of course, rightfully confused and astonished. So then he showed everyone, all the other warriors, the sword, and even pointing out the special engraving that said that Arthur was the true ruler of England. So, of course, to make sure it wasn't fake, they all went to the stone, and it was not there, obviously. But they wanted to double test it, so they put it back in the stone and tried to pull on it again, And again, Arthur was able to pull it out easily. And of course, they all accepted that he was the new ruler of England now. And so, of course, he greeted the king, and the king informed him of his true lineage, aka, he is his father. And of course, they reunited. And Merlin would become Arthur's most trusted ally. And of course, that is another day, another tale of Arthur being a good king, but he would be known as a good king.